Hello all of you little demons, Jules here for WhatCulture.com, back again with another episode of the awesomely named and awfully hosted Tues Your Own Adventure, the weekly medieval themed format where I, the crown jewels of WhatCulture.com, take a list chosen by you, yes you the person who can't believe they've got to do another crunch turnaround for an episode of Choose Your Own Adventure. James, when will we get back on a regular schedule? I can't believe it.
Jules, you're forgetting that the Queen has given us 4 days off.
Ah yes, it is a long weekend. I'm never going to complain about that. Cheers, Liz. Is she still the Queen? Yeah, thanks, love. Yes, you get to decide what list I dole out to you each and every week. And this week we have none other to thank than Nick Fugil for their suggestion of video game moments that required perfect combo button inputs in order to beat. And you know what? That tickled my fancy something rotten. For you see, there are very few things in life other than maybe a crisp cheese toastie or a very nice warm bath after a long, hard day's work that could be considered perfect. We, as humans, we are fallible. We make a lot of mistakes. Trust me, I know that one all too well. But when it comes to video games, they don't really deal in the whole sort of, I see what you were trying there, mate, and I'll give you it. But you're technically wrong. They just deal in yes or no. And indeed, when it comes to video games, in many cases, victory and defeat can come from just one or two key decisions. And as such, there are examples where players will need to play in utterly perfect fashion with zero mistakes being made, lest you be booted back to the start all over again. From one-hit kills to tight time constraints and sometimes just the game being downright unfair, there are definitely a fair few moments that require perfect playing from each and every one of us. And that's what we're here to talk about today. As I'm Jules, this is WhatCulture.com, and these are 8 video game enemies that required perfect playing in order to beat. And you know the drill by now. Say hi to me here in the live chat and pop your suggestions for next week's episode down in the comments section below. But with that in mind, let's get on with this list, shall we? Number 8, absolutely everything. Titan Souls. Now, whereas there are some video games out there that will use difficulty modes to champion absolute challenge in the form of one hit will kill you dead, my friend, that is a concept that Titan Souls looked at, completely scoffed at, and then said, no, we're making that our vanilla experience. That's right, everything in this game, from enemies, bosses, and of course you, will die in just one hit. Now, on paper, this seems like it could be an absolute breeze, right? Just be quick on the draw and spam projectiles and swipes, yeah? Well, that would work in principle had Titan Souls not added in this little wrinkle that you only have one arrow to hand, which must be collected each and every time you fire it. This means that alongside the regular pressure from enemy fire and placement, you'll also need to make sure that you've got the aim of bloody Robin Hood in order to overcome these odds. Worse still, it means that you also have to account where your arrow's going to land, meaning that you can't just fire and forget, because you will be remembering, oh yeah, it's just landed in that minefield made of enemies. It's a wonderful mechanic that turns even basic encounters into deadly puzzles and definitely punishes careless fire and forget approaches. Number 7, Lou, Guitar Hero 3, Legends of Rauk. Goddamn this devilishly hard boss. That was probably what most people screamed at their TVs when they came to the end of Guitar Hero 3, Legends of Rauk with this final boss, although maybe they probably put in a few swear words in between them. But still, yes, it was definitely warranted because Lou is an absolute bastard. Because while this title is an absolute stonker, this right unit of red hellfire is one cool customer that will roast your coals quickly if you're not playing on point. Set to the tune of the Charlie Daniels Band's cover of Devil Went Down to Georgia, this battle is one that will make your fingers and gums bleed as you lose skin on furious shredding and teeth to sheer frustration. On expert difficulty, things will go south so quickly if you miss more than a few notes, something which is compounded greatly by Lou slinging debuffs your way, such as obscuring notes or killing access to your fretboard until you can smash the whammy bar back and forth. I tell you, by the end of things here, my whammy board wasn't the only thing that needed slapping back down because I wanted to punch Lou in the top of the head, like comic book style. I wanted to just go up to him and just go like, bonk, kapow, sploink. In fact, it's down to these power-ups that this entry appears on this list, as you will need to play perfectly in order to get through these sections and survive Lou's onslaught enough to earn your own counterattack. Take too long and the song will also end in your defeat, as well as simply raising the chance for more mistakes, so you need to hit those power-ups hard and do so with utter perfection. Now this is the thing, we've kind of put the musical interlude on ice for the moment, but I feel here, when talking about Guitar Hero and the fact that James plays the, I want to say, harp? Is that what you play?
Bass.
I'm sure that he's going to do a little musical lick now to send us off into the next entry. So, take it away, James. Number 6, Genichiro's first encounter. Sakuros Shadows die twice. Now, while there are many From Software bosses that I could have chosen for this entry, seeing as pretty much all of them require perfect playing from the player, that sentence could have been better constructed. There is one turgid little todger that sticks out from amongst the pack for me personally, and that is Genichiro from Sakuros Shadows died twice, the little sod. The little fool, little buffoon. For starters, this fight, on first playthrough at least, feels like it comes completely out of nowhere and will leave the player feeling completely unprepared for the challenge ahead. This, coupled with the fact that Genichiro is a monumental step up in challenge to the goons and goofballs that you've hacked your way through, makes him a boss that can just cut you in two in just as many seconds. It's just one of those fights that feels like you've barely understood what the hell's going on before you're just cut into pieces, because it's just like, oh yeah, cool, I've got this sword and I think I can attack it. Oh, I'm dead and I've lost my arm. Fantastic. What? I mean, from a narrative perspective, it makes a lot of sense. You are indeed rusty and this lad is the brand new shiny. However, From Software fans being what they are, they sought to beat the snot out of this pretender and so set about learning his patterns, which, as it turned out, required pretty much perfect playing due to your glass-like health bar. Yet, even if you do beat this bastard, don't celebrate too early, as Genichiro's men assist him with a distraction, leading to you still losing your arm and the fight either way. Like I said, he's an utter prick. What about honor in defeat, my good dude? Number 5, Nidhogg on Hellish Mode. BPM bullets per minute. Now, coming out the other side of a regular session on BPM bullets per minute, which is a game that kind of plays like if Doom was a rhythm action title, is going to make you feel like you've been holding your breath for about 30 minutes or so, because the final battle with Nidhogg, it's quite intense to say the least. Thanks to the game's random loot and ability generation, you could enter this boss battle with an infinite minigun or a pistol with scattershot, meaning that it has the range of Sam Worthington's acting abilities, aka limited. And as such, RNG can force what even constitutes as perfection to vary wildly. Yet nothing will prepare you for the step up in challenge that Nidhogg takes to beat on Hellish Mode, a new difficulty option that was added into the game thanks to the Overcharged update. Now, this mode sees enemies rock 50% more health while also dishing out double damage, and late game foes will show up far sooner into your run. Now, if all of this sounds, well, hellish, that's because it absolutely is, and even getting to the final boss, Nidhogg, is going to take near perfection levels of playing. But the battle itself is just utterly cruel, with this giant dragon sending out previous bosses to do away with you before even bothering to engage you in a fight. And from there, its area of effect bubble attacks will rip through your health and require you to dodge on the beat through them in order to survive. Juggling that with its other attacks is something that will require you to become a god of BPM, and that is no easy feat. In fact, the only feat that you'll be tasting is his defeat, as they're rammed down your throat. Do dragons have feet, technically? I mean, they do. They've got clawed feet. Or do they just have two sets of arms? No, don't be bothered. No, I'm not thinking about it. Number 4, Sigrun, God of War 2018.
Jules said Gone of War. He meant God of War. Silly Jules.
Okay, let's get this one out of the way. Yes, I have beaten Sigrun. Yes, it took me an ungodly amount of time. And yes, I wish I had that time back to better spend doing anything else, like learning an entire language, or how to program my own game where it's just me kicking her face off for about 30 or so hours. But Sigrun, as much as I love how much of an absolute badass she is, that feeling of admiration was somewhat dampened when she turned my face into a doormat over and over during our clashes, because in short, she is a nightmare to fight. Acting as a pseudo-reward/punishment for those looking to complete God of War 2018 to 100%, the Queen of the Valkyries will push the player to their limit and beyond in a battle of the ages, which can also be over in moments should you enter the fight unprepared. Rocking nearly all of the skills and tricks shown by other Valkyries, Sigrun also bolsters her own mean-as-hell offense with a one-hit kill pounce attack that will turn the God of War into the "oh god, this isn't what I wanted when I asked to be stepped on" more. Therefore, you will not only have to call back on your knowledge of each of the other Valkyrie boss battles and how you memorize their attack patterns, but now also perfectly dodge her new moves on the fly or risk starting all over again. Now, you will indeed take a hit here or there, but in this case, perfection doesn't mean getting through this battle unscathed, it just means getting through this battle alive. Number 3, The Father, Hotline Miami. Now, for those of you who have never played Hotline Miami, the acid trip and tear title by Devolver Digital, the rise of the furries that is this game can basically be summarized as being very, very, very hard, and also being very, 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 very cool, but also very, 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 very hard. Because all enemies kill you in one hit. Run after run can be scuppered by one simple misstep, and while it would be easy to call all of Hot Miami a case of perfect playing in the same vein as I did with Titan Souls,
Jules said Hot Miami. He meant Hotline Miami. Silly Jules.
there is one boss in particular that requires not just perfection, but almost an entire reprogramming of your entire playstyle. The Father is the final boss of Jacket's campaign and throws every dirty trick in the book at you from the off, first sicking 2 extremely agile panthers on you, which is then followed up by a bodyguard who is so quick on the draw that every encounter with her rests on a knife's edge, before then unloading dual MP5s at you from the relative safety of his chair. Now the flow from dodging panthers to defeating the bodyguard to then trying to dodge the hail of bullets that is coming your way is what scientists have termed as absolute bullshit, and is so jarring that it could take you hours and hours of practice in order to finally come out on top. In fact, this is one of the most hated moments of this otherwise brilliant game due to how prescribed the battle was, rewarding perfect formula following rather than creative takedowns that were championed elsewhere. Number 2, Singe the Dragon, Dragon's Lair. Now admittedly this one might seem a little cheap for those familiar with the concept of what Dragon's Lair is as a game, but truly tell me that I'm wrong, that Singe didn't require perfect playing, because as we all know, in order to actually complete Dragon's Lair, you need to do a perfect run. And trust me, the amount of money that you spent on this in the arcade, it was anything but cheap. You see, because this game contains a code made entirely out of corporate greed, Dragon's Lair would kill the player if they chose the incorrect path or reacted too slowly to the game's many, many hazards. And when coupled with the game's often obtuse indication of what your choices would actually do, led to many lives and coins being lost to Dragon's Lair. Thus, the only way to actually defeat the jumped up lizard is to have the choices and inputs memorized to such an extent you're literally playing through the title perfectly. Now, it sure did make your final triumph over Singe feel bloody well earned, but at the same time, thanks to this game taking up so much brain space, you've likely forgotten your PIN number or a core memory or two, so yeah, cheers for that, mate. And number 1, Yang, Sifu. Now, whereas most enemies and bosses on this list kind of presented a blockade to the player's fun as they either changed the game entirely or just presented a difficulty level that was just above and beyond that of the rest of the title, when it came to Yang in the almighty kung fu em-up that was Sifu, I actually really appreciated this, well, sledgehammer to my entire existence, because it taught me that I was actually playing the game wrong. To better explain, we need to talk about the absolute stomach drop that occurs when players finally track down Yang and storm in to deliver a revenge-based beatdown. For you see, in this battle, you can't slow time to a crawl and utilize the many sweeps, trips, and eye pokes, as Yang, well, he's simply too well versed in martial arts to fall for those sorts of tricks. It is a humbling moment, often joined shortly by Yang utterly wrecking you in short order. However, it is in this defeat that we find the most honest of teachers, a learning experience that shows us what we need to become rather than who we thought we were. Therefore, the battle becomes less about relentless offense and more about the flow of battle itself, of reacting, reading, counter-attacking, and knowing when to back off. Now, I don't want to speak in terms of hyperbole, but I personally think that this boss battle is perfect, and the fact that you flow around your opponent like water creates this zen-like martial arts experience that I really haven't experienced anywhere else. Now, you are sure to leave the fight with some bruises, but this game definitely challenges you to play at your very best, because anything less is going to be an instant defeat. And there we go, my friends. Those were 8 video game enemies that required perfect playing in order to beat. I hope that you enjoyed that, and please let me know what you thought about it down in the comment section below, as well as your suggestions for next week's episode. As always, I've been Jules. You can go follow me over on Twitter at RetroJ, but the O is a 0, and you can follow James Dowes over here. But before I go, I just want to say one thing, my friend. Sometimes in life, we can feel less than perfect. We, as I said before, all make mistakes. We are human, we are fallible, but you know what, my friends? What is that noise? Oh. to remind me to buy Alexis on Fire tickets.
Jules didn't turn off his phone.
But before I go, I just want to say one thing. As I detailed before at the beginning, we are humans, we are fallible, we all make mistakes, and nobody is perfect. But you know what? That's completely okay. We all make mistakes, but it's about how we adapt and learn from them that turns us into the perfect human beings that we could become deep within. So, if you make mistakes, forgive yourself for mistakes that you made in the past. Try and forgive those that have made mistakes against you in the past as well, and move forward together with harmony and love in your heart, treating yourself and others with respect and love, because trust me, that's the only way we're going to get through this crazy thing called life, all right? There is a chance that we can all get through this together and create a perfect society, so let's make every effort that we can to do so. Big love to you, my friend. Now go out there and absolutely smash it. As always, I've been Jules. You have been awesome. Never forget that. I'll speak to you soon. Bye.